Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I did have a few requests for a tutorial on how I build my elevators for Escape Room Simulator. So I'm going to run through that with you real quick, well, as quick as possible today. So here's my elevator setup from the outside. Buttons do not work right now because it is operated by a key. If that's activated, these buttons will work. I just had an overlay that looks exactly like this that disappears when the key goes in. And now my up-down buttons will work. These are just regular buttons. I have them set up to a click noise. Shapes that I program to open and close the door. Very simple. Then here I've got the door open and close button. I've got one that should take us to the basement, ground floor, and the second floor. The door, if it is open, will close when we press the button. So we are currently on the ground floor. I have this button mapped to do absolutely nothing except for play the clicking noise. This one here will take us to the basement. Here we are, little storage room, unfinished, still a work in progress here. And this one will take us back to the ground floor. Boom. Ground floor again. And then we have one that should bring us to the second floor. Now each button I could go from the second floor to the basement if I wanted to. This is all dependent on how you program your elevator. So, we're going to run through this with you here. Here is the building I've been working on. It is a massive work in progress, so excuse my mess. Mostly been doing mechanics and theming here. So here is my basement. My ground floor is there, and then my top floor is all the way over there. You can't build vertically in Escape Room Simulator, so we're creating the simulation that there are elevators in 3 different floors by using them. So what I had done initially was built this first elevator, which took me to the basement, and I decided I wanted a second floor. So what I did was I built the one elevator, which did take some time, but then you're able to copy and paste and move stuff around, which makes your life easy. So we're going to edit today. We're going to use this back room I built for the tutorial. We're going to take this elevator, we're going to piece it apart, and I'll run through the whole thing with you. So to copy this elevator, you can click and drag. We'll highlight all 29, yes, 29 objects to build this elevator. To duplicate something, if you hold down Control and press C, and then drag, you will have a whole extra copy of it. So for this, we're going to have 2 separate elevators up here. When you copy the one elevator, it's still going to have the same functions as the one that you copied. So what we're going to do is basically take all the functions away from the buttons that are here in order to run through the tutorial. So we're going to rotate this guy so he's facing the room correctly. Come on. Come on, almost. A little more. Alright, I'll just bump him here, over here. Now it's sitting about where it needs to be, and when the door opens, we should see this car. Placement not super important right now since we are just doing a tutorial. And then what we can do, we'll rebuild half the elevator for the other side. So we'll take this one, we'll make yet another copy of it. I'm going to run it over here. So each elevator that I built has 2 doors on it. And that is for the functionality of skipping between floors. One door has an animation that opens and closes. When the button is pressed, it'll open if it's closed, it'll close if it's opened. And then the other door, which we'll get rid of this wall completely. The other door is here. This one has an animation which causes it to close and then open again. These are all on timers, just so this basically is what's going to happen. It's going to help the player's point of view, basically. So when they get between floors, that's what causes the door to open when they land. So to start, all these doors are closed. You want them closed. Then when a player presses one of the elevator buttons, this door will open. Then what's going to happen is you will have 2 doors over here. And then when you press a button in here, what it's going to do is instead it's going to close this door back up, and then what it's going to do is open a door on a different floor, and then it's going to engage the bounce animation so that when the player arrives on the correct floor, it'll look like the door is opening in front of them. But realistically, what's happening is, say you press the button over there, you cause this door to open and then this animation to start to close. Then when the player arrives, it looks closed and then it slides back open in front of them. So what I'm gonna do is take all 3 of these buttons here. We can keep the door open and close function. Basically, this is just a button. It is attached to Oh, it's only for the door. This one should also have the sound effect here. This sound here is just a button click. I have it, should be attached to all of my buttons. Better be. Yeah, okay. So every time you press a button, it's going to make the clicking noise. And then whatever is going to happen will happen. We're going to unmap everything here. So we can run you through this. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're just going to use the ground floor and basement buttons. The second floor, I'm just going to delete this one entirely. So one of these elevators will be programmed to the basement button, one will be programmed to the first floor button. The main part that you need in an elevator is the teleporter. This is where the player will arrive when they press the button. So for example, if they press the basement button, we'll have them arrive here. If they press the first floor button, we'll have them arrive over there. Behind my elevator, or all around and below it, are my triggers. This trigger plays the sound effect that you heard when I switched between floors. The sound is entirely up to you, and whether or not you want it, that's again up to you. It's not necessary. These triggers down here are the important parts. Let's just move that back up. Weird clicking. Okay. We're going to move this down a little. I want it clipping through the floor. So both of these triggers are what's going to take you to a different floor. So this one I had set for the main floor there. This one I have set for the basement. So we actually only need one trigger. We'll just use this one here. So the purpose of these triggers is to activate and then teleport the player. So this teleporter in here has nothing to do with sending the player somewhere else. If I want to move from that elevator to this elevator, I need a teleporter here. What we need to happen is these doors are on a 2-second timer. When they press the button, it's going to take 2 seconds to close. I have my triggers to go to a next floor on a 4-second timer. So what's going to happen is it'll give the players time for the elevator door to close. This is also on a 2-second timer, so once the door closes, this cube should hit this trigger. This trigger should play the sound of moving, and then 2 seconds later, since this is on a 4-second timer, 2 seconds later, it should do the act of teleporting the player. So basically what you want is for when this cube gets triggered, you want its waypoint, its animation, to enter the trigger field. Once it enters the trigger field, that'll teleport the player. So this trigger is going to be connected to this teleporter over here. So enter actions, we're going to add the teleporter. So when this cube enters that trigger, the action that occurs is the player is teleported over there. The triggers can be triggered by either objects or by players. For this instance, we are triggering it by the cube. When the cube makes its animation down here, it is triggered by the cube, and then it does the action of teleporting the player. Okay, so let's see here. We have, this will be the base one. We'll set that as the ground floor across, or the first floor across the way. So this is currently connected to nothing. So on press, first things first, we want it to play the click sound effect. That's, again, sounds are entirely up to you, but I like the little button press click. So then what's going to happen is it's going to activate the door, so that this way when the player enters and the door is opened over here, when they get on, they press the button, it should close. We're going to confirm that. Okay, and then we're going to add this here cube. This way, when they press the button, this cube should start descending, and then once it hits the trigger, it should activate the teleporter. And then we also want this to, so this, how this has 2 doors here, we have 2 doors on the other side as well. What we want it to do, this is again all for the purpose of the player's visual standpoint. Oop, lost my button. Okay, so what we're going to want to happen is that door will close, all the animations will start playing. When that door closes, we want this door to open. My button again? Yep, there it is. Okay. So on press, this is when you press the first floor, it should open this door. And then this door here has an animation that bounces. The bounce is important because what it's going to do is cause the animation to stop, go completely to the end, and then reset itself. So what should happen here, edit waypoint, this is where the door is. So it starts here. Reset, this is where it will start. When the animation activates, it should come over here. And then it should bounce back. So we're going to have the waypoint set to here. This way, when it bounces back, it'll end up right in the right spot. So what should happen is the player will press this button, it'll click, it'll play the movement animation. Do we actually add the movement animation? Movement animation is on. We don't have the sound effect. Okay, so the button will press, it'll click, this cube will move here. As the door closes, you'll hear the sound effect of movement. Then this cube will hit this and we'll get triggered to the other side. I believe I'm missing one door button. Is it this one? Oh, it's going to activate this. Open that door, and then we have to play the mounts animation. This way, okay, that should be everything. So we'll start our spawn point over here. Now what should happen? We can open the door. And then these buttons you can rename in the editor. I'll show you that in a moment. This way it doesn't just say triangle. So we're gonna go to the one across the way. This door closes, plays the noise, we teleport to the other side. So what just happened here, that door that was opening was not the main door that's closed like over there. It was the bounce animation. So it closed, and then by the time we arrived, it was ready to open again. That is 100% based on the timers. So this door takes 2 seconds to close. And then the other door also has a 2-second bounce animation. This way it takes 2 to close. We get here, and then it opens again for another 2 seconds. So then for the other side, we're basically going to do the same thing. What we're going to want is delete that one again since we're not using it. We're going to make the other side the basement side. So for the purpose of the tutorial, we're going to delete this and run through everything one more time. So first things first, press the button. It makes a clicking noise. And since I copy and pasted these different triggers, it's easy to reconnect everything. So we're going to add this trigger here that plays the sound effect. We're going to add this trigger here that does the teleporting. Now we want to make sure this one, see, it was going to teleport me over there. And make sure that when the cube enters the trigger is going to teleport us over to here. This is a lot of checks and balances. It does take a little bit of time, but when it actually works properly, it's very satisfying. Okay, so we have this trigger brings us there. And then what else do we need? 2 triggers, 3 doors. Oh, so this is still activating doors way over there. So we're going to make sure this is all in the right spot here. Which button am I pressing? Oh no, I don't need that one. We're going to clear this one completely. This is going to be the first floor button. It should do nothing except for click. Okay, so this button activates the movement sound, activates the act of teleporting, plays the clicking sound. So we're going to want it to also close this door when the players press it. And then we're going to also want to activate our 2-door system here. We're going to add this door's animation, and we're going to add this door's animation. Now this door's animation brings it from... Can I click it? There it is. So this door's animation just opens it, closes it. So its animation should bring it off to the right. It should stop until a player hits another button. So we don't need that one to bounce. Bounce should be unchecked for that. Another important thing when you're using the buttons, make sure you don't have the sticky black box checked. If a button is sticky, it will not be able to be used more than once. So you want to make sure no buttons that you have on your elevators are sticky. For these buttons, you could really use any shapes you want. I took the cylinder shape. I added a texture of actual elevator buttons, which I had put into Photoshop and cut them out basically. And I put it over one of the texture overlays, which I will actually link in the information for this video. Okay, so now if we did this all correctly, I should be able to bounce back and forth between the elevators. We'll press this to open up. You see my 2-door system here. This should bring me across the way. Now we're here, this door opens, now we're down the hall. A little toy car. And then this should bring me back to the other side. And here we are. So actually what we could do, get a better visual. We're just going to delete these walls. We're going to get a better visual on the 2-door system here. So that this way makes at least a little sense. So this will be opening. Now both doors are kind of in the same spot. It'll close when we go to the ground floor. So now this one is, that's the bounce animation right there. When we had pressed that button, it had closed this door here. Did I actually run out here? This would be kind of funny. Now we're over here again. And that's pretty much the whole thing. If anybody has any questions, please drop in the comments, hit me up on Discord. I'll put all that info down below. But that's pretty much the whole elevator tutorial. If you need to add a second or a third floor rather, like I had, just basically build another trigger, make sure everything's connected properly, So it's a lot of checks and balances, a lot of little details, but when it does work properly, it's very, very satisfying. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a good one.